Hello today, my dear players. It is a pleasure to be delivering you another video today. And today, we're going to go on continuing this series because I do enjoy it. Series I established the past couple weeks. And I keep having ideas for it. So, the next idea for someone from a different series than Naruto would be Ichigo Kurosaki from Bleach, and what his curse technique would be, and his full moveset. So, to hop right into it, I think that his curse technique, I think just as a fun reference, it might be most appropriate to just call it the Moon Cutter technique. Probably be the funnest name, but I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. I might change my mind later, but we'll see. So the entire idea I had is that his his normal curse technique comes in kind of two flavors, and that like a curse tool similar to I can't pronounce his name. I'll look him up. His name will be on screen, and I'll show him. But similar to the gavel that one character from Jujutsu Kaisen just seems to be able to summon whenever he would like, as part and parcel of his curse technique. I think that it would be fun if Ichigo has a similar situation, where just as part and parcel of his standard technique, he can just summon a curse tool. And this curse tool, I would have it look like his original Bankai. This is what I would look at. It's just like a black katana with that interesting symbol as a hand guard, and just the full edginess is what I think it should be, because I love that sword. I love that design. I miss that design. But he'd be able to summon that, and there would be a couple interesting properties to the sword, to our dear Moon Cutter. First of all, is that it would be pretty explicitly the case that Ichigo can call it to his hand. Not just summoning it to his hand, but it can also call it to his hand after he's done like literally anything with it. So like if someone knocks it out of his hand, pull back to his hand. And if for some reason he decides to throw it at somebody, he can just call it back to his hand like fucking Mjolnir. That is something I would have pretty explicitly be part of the set of things the curse tool can do for Ichigo. It's not like a super big thing, but would be relevant in the very hand-to-hand heavy fighting style that is Jujutsu Kaisen, and how dynamic it is. Having a weapon that always comes back to you in that way would be so useful for how Jujutsu Kaisen does fights. But the primary ability of the curse tool, which everyone's probably waiting for, is something I think can pretty easily translate from Bleach, which is the Getsuga Tensho. The idea, for those who don't know, it would be, to translate it, would be for Ichigo to be able to channel his cursed energy into this cursed blade, and then the cursed blade's unique properties amplifies the intensity of that cursed energy, and then when Ichigo swings his sword, all of that energy is released in a slash of just a crescent moon slash blast of sorts. It's simple and to the point, but I think that's just Ichigo. I feel like that's got to be it. It's just such a simple it's just who he is. Like, I don't I don't know how else to put it. It's just who he is in a lot of ways. And yeah, there's not much else to say about the curse technique other than he can do that. I would, because of how Jujutsukaisen is, Ichigo would probably be forced to be more creative with the Getsuga Tensho more often. Things like holding in the amplified cursed energy in the sword to increase individual strikes is something he only did once against Ukiura, but would absolutely be immediately relevant against someone against anyone in Jujutsu Kaisen. It's something he's gonna have to use a lot. Secondly, would probably be more creative in how he swings the sword in order to try and change the shape of the Getsuga blast. That's something he'd probably have to do a lot. And yeah, overall, I just think that would Jujutsu Kaisen, the way Jujutsu Kaisen fights go, kind of incentivize Ichigo as a character to be more creative. Not overtly so, just because Ichigo is just not the kind of person to be super creative, but it would still be nice to see. Hell, having some combination of throwing the weapon and using Getsuga Tensho at the same time somehow would probably be really interesting. But I digress. There's not much else to say. Beyond that, I think it would be really fucking cool. So I think I'll already go ahead and talk about what I think his reverse curse technique would be. And this is actually, I think, going to be kind of a unique case, because we don't have much precedent for this in Jujutsu Kaisen, but we have very little precedent. I think that Ichigo's reverse curse technique would be a one-time use ever ability, in the same way that Kashimo's normal curse technique is. And the entire idea of it would be that it's essentially using Yugetsu, sort of. The idea being that Ichigo could use reverse curse technique to channel all of the cursed energy within his curse tool into himself, and then multiply all of his own cursed energy against all of the cursed energy within the cursed tool he has made, essentially just fully charging the entirety of his being with positive energy. Would be what his reverse curse technique would be. I think that he could probably still, generally use the more general uses of reverse curse technique without using, the technique itself. So he'd probably still heal himself with it without using the actual technique. In the same way that Gojo can use red without using other aspects. No, that's the wrong way. The same way that Gojo can use reverse curse technique on himself without having to activate red specifically. I think that Ichigo would probably still get a lot of use out of the more basic use of reverse curse technique of just, healing yourself or generally having positive energy to use. But that the actual technique, the actual reversed version of his normal curse technique would be a one-time use, burning all of it away. Just like his curse tool he will not be able to summon his curse tool again after he does it. He will not be able to use cursed energy properly ever again. It is just, I am a being of supreme positive energy, and I will kill everything that's in front of me. Is what his reverse curse technique is. Essentially, what happened against Aizen. And that's insane, I know, but it makes the most sense to me of what a reversal of what we establish as curse technique to be. The only way I could see it being different is if I think the only other method that I can think of is if you could maybe argue that a reversal of his curse technique would instead be that he summons a new blade, a separate blade, so that he can do the dual wielding thing that he does in 1000 Year Blood War. Spoilers for that if you haven't watched. Sorry. But even then, I mean, I could see it. It just doesn't feel like a true reversal in any sense. It's just like, oh, you summon, with your reverse curse technique, you summon a positive blade instead of a negative blade. Maybe has slightly different properties. And like, well, actually, I mean, I guess that could be fleshed out. I haven't thought this part through yet. This is just something I've literally randomly made up just now during this video. Free ball. I suppose we could go that direction and say that his positive blade has some other properties. Probably still have to be able to like call to your hand anytime you want trick, like Mjolnir. Instead of Getsuga Tensho, I don't know what it would. I'm still trying to think. This is maybe the way we could structure it, instead of it having its own special technique, since, you know, reverse curse techniques are stronger than normal techniques by default, just because of how much more power goes into the thanks to, you know, multiplication. So I guess you could say that he's now dual wielding, and the positive blade can essentially do Getsuga blasts without using the same, you know, exact property of taking a bit of Ichigo's curse energy to do it, just because the power would be inherent in that blade. And now he can just kind of weave the positive blasts from the secondary blade into the negative blasts with the normal blade to create all kinds of different types of attacks and stuff like that. And that would also be a fun way to reference his fucking cross Getsuga that he does in 1000 Year Blood War. I'm sorry for laughing at that. It's just really dumb to me. There's so many other things he could do. And that would be really useful. Arguably, that would be really useful. You know, because I've already said that being able to change the shape of Getsuga Tensho and being able to fling the blade around and call it back would both be insanely useful properties in Jujutsu Kaisen fights due to the way they are. So being able to add a second blade to that mix to change up the shapes of those blasts even more while infusing them with positive energy would probably take everything up a notch. At least. So yeah, I've kind of made that one up on the spot, but yeah, I could see that. And then the Mugetsu idea could probably just be, I guess, like a maximum technique. Sort of, not maximum, not for the word. It might be something similar to Hollow Purple, where he's just maximizing the use of both techniques. Yeah, I suppose that could be it, and still keep the same idea. But yeah, okay, sorry. I didn't plan to have that segment, but we're here now. We're here. But yeah, as for his domain expansion, I think his domain expansion, I haven't thought of the name. I might make up the name as we're talking here. I do know that it would just look like his inner world from Bleach. With the sideways buildings. And what should it be called? Give me a sec. I think we could call it the Ever-Growing City. I think could be a good name for it. The idea being that that the name and the domain kind of represents the ever-expanding, ever-increasing potential of Ichigo Kurosaki, because that's a big thematic point for him as a character throughout Bleach, is that his potential is ludicrous. So, yeah, I think just the ever-growing city would probably work, or ever-expanding, one of those words. Whatever works best. And for how his domain works, I think, once again, him being such a simple person, it just being a sure hit domain makes the most sense to me. And I think it would be really cool if the way the sure hit works isn't even like, the Getsuga attack is a guaranteed hit. Which, yeah, it would be in this domain. But in addition to that, the curse tools themselves are sure hits. The idea being that he can just charge at the idea being that the sure hit basically is just his blades pull Ichigo. Instead of him being able to direct the blades, his blades are almost directing him in the domain, essentially. That due to the influence of the domain, the blades are pulling Ichigo forward and directing every hit, and they're guaranteed to hit. Every individual strike of the blade is guaranteed to hit. So you not only have to counter the, technique attacks, you have to counter and block every individual hit purposefully, and you never know when Ichigo is going to attempt to proc a Getsuga, and you never know when he's going to pull some weird shit, because since the domain's sure hit applies to the blades themselves, he could just throw one of his blades, and then his blades just home the fuck in on the target to impale them or slash them. Essentially, to extend that even further beyond, you could just have the blades be able to fight, be able to make copies of the blades while within the domain that can all just fight. They'll all just seek out the target and strike and hit as much as they can. Almost reminiscent of how Zangetsu trained Ichigo to use Bankai way back in the day, of having all these different swords, and some of them are slightly different, some of them are this and that, all that stuff, all in the domain that could all be used to attack the enemy with. Oh god, that could be really fun. Swords everywhere in this awkward sideways city. That could be really fun. But yeah, I think that would be it. And I think as an additional thing, I think that Ichigo would probably, like, the type of story he would have with Jujutsu Kaisen, I could see being very interesting, in that he could have a whole family drama of like a whole family drama of him being descended from a clan that could have been a great clan at one. Like, it could have, a clan that could have been at once related to the Zenin clan, because the Zenin clan have like a bunch of different techniques that they've kind of put into their family forcibly by recruiting them, and this could be one of them. And Ichigo's dad is someone that broke away from that lifestyle. and Ichigo ended up, inheriting one of the family abilities, plus with some weird traits from his mom, who's almost certainly from an enemy clan, or not from an clan at all, from this version of his story. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys next time. Have a good one.